Hello, thank you very much for coming. Today, you really don't need me, because what I found in the basement is a legendary T-shirt from House of Computers in Toronto. And I remember first seeing this shirt in the store. It was near Eglinton and Avenue Road, as I remember, just a little bit west of Avenue Road on the north side. It was on the back of the shirt, and it's kind of more worn. It says peek, but don't poke. And it is in typical sort of old computer script. It is. So yes, when I was in high school, I often wore this shirt. Probably more so than maybe I should have. But of course it was after I got involved in being interested in the old PET computers, which of course I still am. And I believe this would be, I haven't looked at the tag, maybe a medium or so. Certainly it would not fit me now, nor would I try and wear it now. So, back in the day, this was, these were fun times. Excuse me. My twin brother and I, on occasion, but not very often, I think we only did it twice. But of course the stories are more, get blown up. Our high school was near Mount Pleasant and Eglinton, which was basically 2 main streets away. But it wasn't just one bus to go up there. You had to get on one bus, which was a trolley bus, and then sometimes that bus would actually go through the station at Eglinton and Yonge and carry on up the street. But sometimes they had different versions of the bus. But the lunches at our school were very short. So there was really no way of being able to make a trip from Northern Secondary School to House of Computers and back in the time of our lunch. So, but being twins, we had a plan and we had a system, and it never went bad. And that was, I went to Richard's class. See, we also had different lunches. So, on the day that he went to House of Computers, I had a class while he had lunch, and he had a class while I had lunch. So, and actually the funny thing is the teacher involved in all of this, I had him in a different class at a different time. So I just made sure I was wearing a different shirt, not this shirt. And I just went to Richard's class, and he was really none the wiser. So I do not remember exactly when I got this, but probably pretty soon after I saw it, I said, gotta have it, gotta have it, gotta have it. I don't think we did an incredible amount of business with House of Computers. There were many dealers around Toronto. Electronics 2001 and ComSpec, and of course RTC up in Richmond Hill. That's where we bought our first computer after we rented it. Let me think. There was of course batteries included. There were, many dealers around, but not like hundreds of them. But I'm sure we got some discs there and some other things, and obviously some T-shirts. Some years later, House of Computers was involved in a little bit of a troubling situation. And it's funny, looking back, because I believe Flight Simulator 2, which, by the way, had no copy protection on the discs, but it had a manual and other things that were probably about the size of the Commodore 64 Programmer's Reference Guide. So in fact, the documentation, which was needed, and flight charts and other things that made it, cooler and more interesting, really was the copy protection. So, although, people could copy the disc and people make backups of the discs and, Anyway, it is alleged, and I do not know if this is true, but it is alleged that the good people of House of Computers decided that they should make copies, not just of the discs, but of everything to do with Flight Simulator 2, which astounds me, because I don't remember exactly what it sold for. I would figure somewhere between $69.99 and $99.99, and somehow the number $79.99 comes into my head for this big bundle with its discs and manual and all kinds of other things. So, I don't know how much the printing costs, but this was a big book. Excuse me. Anyway, somehow or another they decided that they would pump out copies of everything. And I don't know for how long that this was happening, supposedly. But there was one thing that went wrong along the way. And that is, of course, the program had a warranty card, which, of course, they copied. And, everything was just perfect. You could not tell the difference between the two. Anyway, at some point, maybe with a different year or a different whatever, the company that made Flight Simulator 2 decided that they would change the color of the warranty card. And I'm not sure if maybe they were suspicious they were getting maybe more warranty cards back than what they were selling, or it was just, it's a new year, or maybe it was a way to keep track of, how the old one's selling or the new one, what, I don't know. But anyway, the people who were making the copies did not realize that this had happened. So, of course, I think it was Sublogic. I guess they suspected for a while that they would get some of the different, or the older colored copies, because of things don't always sell, and, there's some quiet little sleepy store where, one guy comes in once a year and somebody buys Flight Simulator 2 and might sit there for a while. But anyway, they were continuing to get the old colored warranty cards, and this perplexed them, and thus an investigation somehow was launched, and it was indeed discovered that there were counterfeit programs out there, and I believe there was, I don't know if it was charges or lawsuits or, I don't know, anyway, it didn't go well. It was also rumored that somebody who actually worked at Commodore was involved in the duplication of the disc somehow. That is the rumor. This is all speculation, rumor. And I haven't gone and searched court records and other things, but Anyway, so at that moment in time, of course, it was a scandal within the Commodore community. It was. Anyway, I don't know, as I say, how many of these shirts were made. I don't know how many have survived. but I know there's at least one. There is, and it's right here. Now, I would suspect that, of course, because my twin brother and I were into such things, I'm sure we both had them. And does he have his still? I don't know. I've never heard him speak of it, and I did mention to him that I'd found mine, and he didn't say, oh yeah, I have mine in the closet. So, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But this would have been... let me think. Perhaps 1978 or 79. Perhaps. And I'm pretty pleased with how the PET, like the graphics have held up. There's a little... It's funny, the letters are what seems to be the downfall a little bit. But overall, like if this was hanging in a Commodore museum, certainly I would suspect it would have the front side out with the PET and the House of Computers name and all. On the back, as I say, it says peek but don't poke. And it's funny, one time I was at a computer show and there was this female reporter who was, I still remember her, brown hair, quite lovely, beautiful smile. And for whatever reason, somehow she decided, I think she was a radio reporter, but she did not have a face for radio, that she wanted to interview me. And I was wearing the shirt. And I remember she said to me, so tell me, when does a programmer peek and when do they poke? And after a suitable amount of sort of stunned silence, I gave an answer such as, well, if you want to see what's in a particular location, within a memory location inside a computer, you peek. But if you want to put a particular value into a particular memory location, you poke. Of course, other things were running through my mind at that moment. But also, at the time, I was probably 14 or 15. I was. Anyway, so here it is. The legendary House of Computers 40-plus-year-old T-shirt. And it's funny, I did one thing, and I did recently find this other shirt. We had, I was on the stage crew at the high school, and we had stage crew shirts. And on the back, you could get like a nickname thing. And I did something then that I look back on and I said, gee, I'm not sure why I did that. But anyway, I did put on the back of mine, I love petting. And I put quotes around the pet. And then so it was in quotes P-E-T and then T-I-N-G. And even to this day, I think it looks funny. I just should have said, I love petting, or I like petting, or whatever it was. I'll find that shirt. I will. Anyway, it was, those were magical times. The early days of discovery, of computers, of computing, of tape drives, small screen pets, sitting in the back of a room, well after school, watching the PET come up and, you type in load, like, what was a good one back then? I should find it. Artillery was a game where you would lob things over a thing, like a mountain, and try and hit a certain location. And there was math involved, but once again, when you're playing a game and have fun, you don't realize you're learning. But so you'd have a tape and it'd have some games on it, and at that point there was no counter on the tape drives. So the best you could do if you were going to fast forward was, your best guess of how many seconds you should advance the tape. Or you would just type in load, quote, artillery, quote, and press enter. And and then it would say, press play on tape 1. Because, of course, the PET had 2 cassette ports. And you would press play, and you would wait, and it would say, searching. And if artillery was not the first thing on the tape, it would, of course, come up and it'd say, found. And it might say, found Dam Busters. And you would wait. And you would sit in eager anticipation. And then it might, I'm not sure the names of other things, but anyway, it would list through, found this. But of course, because it's a tape, it just, you gotta just let it go. And then eventually, those magical words would come up. And it would say, found artillery. Loading. And you would wait, and wait, and wait. And typically speaking, it was pretty good. I mean, there was always a chance you would get the message that came up that might have said, load error. But that was rare. As long as the tape was in good shape, you would sit, you would wait in eager anticipation, and finally up would come the word ready with the cursor flashing. And as quickly as you could, you type in run, and you were off into another place, another time, another space. And of course you were learning math things, because you had to decide angle and bags of powder. And this is all very similar, of course, to a game now, which I haven't heard much of lately. And suddenly, Angry Birds, where, you have to pick the angle and how far you pull back. Well, this was different, and yet the same, in that, yes, you had to put in, you had to type in, like 63 degrees and, 12 bags of powder, and see where it went, and hone down. And if I remember rightly, you could play it, I think, one person at a time, just against the computer, I think. But certainly, you could do it with 2 people. And much like, I guess, the game Battleship, the competition was to figure out who could decide on the angle and the bags of powder before the other person. And, of course, there wasn't always just one answer, because more bags of powder with a different angle may produce a good result, whereas less powder and a different angle, as long as it would clear the hill, may also produce the same result. So it was trial and error, experimentation, and the best kind of learning. Learning without realizing that you're learning. On a small screen, green screen, Commodore PET, which would now be some 45 years ago. 45? No, that's wrong. Let me think about that. No, 41. 41 years ago, or so, thereabouts. And probably, while playing the game, I would have been sitting there wearing this very T-shirt. I am suspecting. It's funny, there were other people in our school that were into computers, and some people were very elitist, although, of course, as Jack Jamil would say, we're the computer for the masses, not the classes. But there definitely were 2 sort of groups of computer people. And, I don't know for how long House of Computers made this shirt, but to me, as soon as I saw it, it was like, gotta have it. But I don't remember a whole lot of other people having taken the time or the money to get this shirt. So maybe there weren't many. I don't know. I just, it wasn't like, we went to TPUG meetings and everyone was sitting there in the House of Computers T-shirt. I'm sure there were others. I would suspect. But this is, I never saw another version of it. And as I say, I'm very pleased with how the PET graphic has survived and lasted. And the T-shirt's not in bad shape either. Anyway, enough tripping down memory lane. For now, anyway. I will ponder, because certainly this will not fit me. I suppose I could try it out on my little fellow and see. But who knows? Maybe it belongs in somebody else's collection. Maybe I'll put it up for sale. Because you don't, we reach a point in time where it's like, gotta declutter. And as you might know, or have noticed, I have a lot of stuff around. And I am intending to start to sell things. One thing I was just looking at, once again, excuse me, is, and I'm not going to stick it in there, but it's a completely brand new, unopened package of an Amiga program called Art Department Professional. And it says Image Processing's Common Ground. And I'm not sure I ever used this at all. But anyway, it's a big package, bigger than the packaging that would have gone around Flight Simulator 2. It is. And it has Benjamin Franklin on the front. It was made by ASDG Incorporated. And it says it's version 2. So I guess it was after Kickstart 2 had come out. And this thing has never been opened. It has the original shrink wrap around it, and it's in perfect shape. It was part of a bundle of something. I'm not sure what the other thing that came with it was, but it is perfect in every regard. It hasn't really been beat up. So anyway, how do I know it's a bundle? Because there's a thing across the top that says, Bundle Package, not for resale. And of course, now includes full AGA support, ANIM file support, improved FRED, new modules. Interesting. Anyway, as of course I'm not going to open this, I am suspecting that this too I will put up for sale, because you know what, I mean, we all have aspirations to be the one with the great Commodore museum. And of course, there was a great Commodore museum and a great computer museum in Brantford, Ontario, and Sid Bolton had gathered the things together, and a lot of stuff was donated, but it really was a magical place. I only got to go there once, and it was not long before his untimely, mysterious death. What a tragedy. Anyway, if that museum was still in operation and still existed, I suspect I might send this art department professional down to them. I might even send this T-shirt down to them. Or take it there and visit and look around and say, ooh. Like the last and the first time I was there, it was a celebration of the life of Jim Butterfield. I think it was 11 years after he had tragically died of cancer. And it really was a special day. And his widow had donated all kinds of things. And then not long after that, it was all over. And I don't know what became of all the museum pieces. Like, for example, in the magazine The Transactor, which was done by Carl Hilden, at one point they did a Butterfield centerfold. I'm not sure why they never did others. They could have done others, but anyway, they went to the art shop in Ontario And there was Jim Butterfield in this sort of red smoking jacket, maybe similar in some ways to Hugh Hefner. And, of course, there at the museum, I think it was in a case, was the smoking jacket that Jim Butterfield wore in the picture at the art shop that became the Jim Butterfield centerfold in the Transactor. And, you know, the other thing I saw there that had been his, it was a dual drive, and it didn't have I think it was probably maybe even a prototype. It didn't say it was 4040, whatever. That thing was just blank, and it looked really weird with it just being blank. But the vents on the side were completely different, which is why I think it was an early prototype. So as wonderful it was that all of Jim Butterfield's relics ended up in the museum, it's tragic that Sid Bolton died, and I don't know what became of those cherished and irreplaceable relics. It's all still very mysterious. And baffling, because I was just about to the point where I thought, yeah, you know, I mean, it's a long way. I live, you know, more towards Toronto, and this is not close. But I thought, you know, I should get more involved in this. And remember, there was one time there was this woman, she had a whole bunch of stuff, and she didn't really know what to do with it, and I contacted her, and I think she thought, I don't know what she thought, but anyway, she said, you know what, I found this computer museum down in Brantford, I'm going to give all this stuff to them. And I said, that is a beautiful idea. And it was. And so I think it was a bunch of Amiga stuff. So off it went. And that was just dandy. Because above all, especially in those days, way back when, which this might have been 5 or 6 years ago, I mean, you never like to hear the story of, oh yeah, I threw all that stuff out, which means it ended up in landfill. By the way, 2 other shirts I did find when I found this shirt. One is from the World of Commodore, which is World of Commodore 1958 to 1993. Sorry, 1983. So I guess it's from 1983. It has some issues. I mean, it would have been well worn as well. Another one is more of a hoodie thing, but it's a thin fabric, like a T-shirt. But it has, you know, pouches on the front, and it just has it is from the World of Commodore because it has the World of Commodore logo, and down the long sleeves it says, da-da-da, Commodore. And yes, oh yeah, and there is a maple leaf. Because of course the World of Commodore show was in Toronto. Although, now thinking back, I'm not sure, maybe they might have done one or some other places. I'm not just sure. Anyway, I'm thinking that as I've recorded some episodes, that I may have like an Easter marathon, and this episode would be part of that. And if I don't, then this episode will go live at some point in April of 2021. We shall see. Anyway, stay tuned. I suspect if I do put anything up on eBay, it will be the name of my one identity there is, of all things, Commodore Treasures. It is. But of course, as I always say, if I have something that somebody is interested in, we don't necessarily have to go through eBay. So, you know, drop me a line, send me a message, send a pigeon, or something. And maybe we can work out a deal. But anyway, the next things I think that I will, in fact, list, and I haven't listed anything for quite a while, would be the Art Department Professional, brand new, what would they call it? New old stock. And would somebody actually open and use it? I don't know. Maybe. And this T-shirt may go up for sale. Oh, the other thing I have, and I mentioned this, I have a couple of Super Pet upper boards. The Super Pet, or the SP9000, came in an early version, which had 3 boards: the main pet board, and then essentially the Super Pet board, and then I think it was somebody else's 64K RAM board that they said, right, we'll use that until we can put it all on one board, which they did. So most Super Pets had one Super Pet board. And anyway, I have 2 of these things, and I tested them a while back when I had a Super Pet that was up and working, and they worked just fine. But since then, I've kind of sold off bits and pieces, so I don't have all the cabling and thing to go with them. But I think I'm going to put one of them up for sale, I think. So stay tuned to Commodore Treasures, all one word. But once again, if there's something you're interested in, write to me. I'm on, well, of course I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. And I know there's a lot of people who have found me on Facebook. And I think the fastest way to find me on there would be put in David Bradley Photography. I think that would do it. Excuse me. I'm just over at another computer here, and I can try and see that. I can. If you're interested in writing to me through egad email, my email is, and I'll say this slowly because I know Steve Punter might be out there watching. Sorry, Steve. That was just, you know what, one of the magical things was going to TPUG meetings where all these living legends were, and especially Jim Butterfield, who would at some point take little digs at people such as Steve Punter. Anyway, my email, if you are interested in, is D as in David, R as in Ronald, period, Bradley, B-R-A-D-L-E-Y, photography, P-H-O-T-O-G-R-A-P-H-Y, at hotmail.com. So yes, Dr. Bradley Photography at hotmail.com. Don't forget the period after D and R, otherwise it won't get to me. So I'm just now, at this moment, searching on Facebook. So I'm in the search Facebook thing, and I'm just going to type in David Bradley Photography and hit enter. Let's see, does that find me? And yes, it does. It does indeed. And actually, it comes up, my name on there is Dave Bradley, and usually my profile picture is some picture of myself. And the thing that just came up now is a picture I took on the show Gangsters of the Underworld in 2009. But if I click on my name, Dave Bradley, it should take me to my profile, and indeed it does. And if you wanted just an absolute surefire thing to type in, just put in, and this would be just in your browser, facebook.com/David Bradley photography, and it should go straight to me. And if you would like to be friends, I have 4,883 friends at this moment. And if you would like to be a friend, cool. And if you have questions, write to me. And if there's something you're looking for, don't hesitate. I have, perhaps too much stuff. But, as I say this right now, I think I'm going to get to work on shooting some pictures of the art department professional, brand new, new old stock, never opened, not even that I can find a rip in the original shrink wrap. What is this? In accordance with the Computer Software Rental Act of 1990, this software may not be rented, lent, or leased. Oh, isn't that special? Alright, I have things to do. Probably because Ontario is now heading into another lockdown, I do not have places to go or people to see, but I do want to get some listings up on eBay. And Commodore Treasures would be the place. It would be. So, thanks for listening to these perhaps interesting stories of the past. And I hope you enjoy seeing this old relic of a T-shirt. It would be interesting to see if anybody has ever sort of reproduced or retroed them. I don't know. I suspect the technology at the time was the typical sort of transfer thing where you have like a great big flat iron, and not like ink and different colors and thing, or sort of different layers of color and stuff. It would have been basically a big heat transfer, I don't know what the right word is for it, thing that would have been stuck on the front and stuck on the back, and then away it goes. And in between, decades of memories. Well, as they say, that's about all I have to say about that. Thank you very much for coming. If I do put this up over the long weekend, or the double long weekend, I hope everybody enjoys and has a great time celebrating whatever it is that they celebrate. And of course, in these COVID times, I would if it wasn't COVID times, I'd say, you know, I hope you have a great gathering, but because it is COVID times and we're dealing with variants and variations and other things that seem to be more easily spread and potentially deadlier, especially to younger people, I would say, you know, talk to your people, maybe Zoom calls with your people, but don't congregate in don't congregate in large numbers. For example, this weekend, I have acquired a turkey, probably bigger than what I should have got. And I will cook it, much like Christmas. Andrew and I will sit, and he has requested 3 things that I can think of: turkey, mashed potatoes, and stuffing. Perhaps some orange juice on the side as a chaser. And I'm sure that can be successfully accommodated. Who knows? Perhaps I will film my turkey adventures. Although, from what I have found, I mean, once you get it into the cooker with a pan and put tinfoil over it and put it in the oven, as long as you got the temperature right and the time right, it's not so tough. From what I have found. At least, mind you, I cooked 1 turkey. It went well. We'll see how this goes. And I do look forward to turkey leftovers for many, 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 many days. Oh, beautiful. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Alright, enough for now. Thank you very much for coming. I hope you've enjoyed this sort of different episode. I figured you don't really need to see me today. And I did want this T-shirt to be seen very easily, prominently, plainly. Alright, well, all the best. Keep in touch. Remember, Facebook, David Bradley Photography. Email, drbradleyphotography@hotmail.com. And of course, I'm on other things online. Who isn't? don't be afraid to reach out. I did one last try. I got a message from a fellow not long ago, and he said, "Can you will you send me a or sell me a Vic chip?" And I said, "Well, sure, but what do you need? Why do you think you need a Vic chip?" And he was doing, I think, his first kind of repair. He had got a cartridge in the harness and such, and somehow or another he had plugged in the cassette connection on the harness upside down, and now he had no video. Anyway, we exchanged a few messages back and forth, and indeed, it did not take too long before we discovered that he had blown the fuse. But nothing else was damaged. That's why fuses are there. So he didn't need a Vic chip. I could have easily just said, "Sure, I'll send you a Vic chip." And then we would have waited, and then a couple of weeks later he would have said, "You know what, I put in a new Vic chip, doesn't make any difference." And then we could have gone through the process of figuring out that in fact it was just the fuse. So I'm glad that worked out. Another mystery solved. Anyway, I feel a cough coming. Oh. Excuse me. Thank you very much for coming. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Happy long weekend. Bye for now.